Good morning, everybody. Salute. Sam United People's TV here with another live morning news show. Going to run through the latest, funnily enough, United news. Going to speak a little bit today about Casemiro, replacing him. I'm going to ask you, nice little interactive part of today's show, what elements of Casemiro's game do we need to replace? Because I don't think you're going to struggle to do that, even with Elliot Anderson, I'll be completely honest. We'll also have a conversation about Ruben Amorim and lifting the lid and breaking his silence on his United exit, or what's been reported from Chris Wheeler. We'll also have a little conversation around transfers, not too big because we had a big conversation about that yesterday, let's be totally honest. And then we'll speak about academy players, JJ Gabriel. We'll speak about some other things. And as always, get involved in the comments, fire in your questions, and I'll try and answer as many of your questions as I possibly can. Who's doing what today? Who's having a good day? It's Wednesday. It's February. Man, February. Such a grim month, isn't it? Is there anything good about February? Like, someone tell me. It's not the weather. It's not anything going on. Shortest month of the year. United have only got 3 games in Feb. Don't even have football to look forward to. I do think if I was going to cancel 1 month, I'd choose Feb. Let me say hello to everyone this morning. Who's here? We have got Maddie and Josh. Good morning to Peria. We've got Ant and Steph. We've also got Carl. I saw you at the start of the show. And some members. We've got Lisa. We've got John. We've got Pranav. We've got Teresa. Fran. We've got Brian. We've got Molly Mate. And we've got Manny. Good morning to all of you. Some non-members too. Daz. It's your birthday in Feb. That is a shame for you, really. That is a shame. Mr. T, good morning to you. Maybe it's that. Is it that, Mr. T? I think it's that, Mr. T. And Sky Benjamin. Right, I'm looking down for positives about February down there. Valentine's Day. Nah, they just made Valentine's Day up so there was something happening in February. Nothing going on. It's a shame there's another one of you with a birthday in Feb. Everyone knows March is the greatest month to be born in. I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you. This is the truth. I'll tell you what I'm missing here. I'm supposed to have that on there. That's a little sub counter. Whoops. Right. Should we get on with today's show? As always, please fire in your questions and I'll try and answer as many of them as I can throughout the entire show. I do try to make this as interactive as possible. And I want to start here by just enjoying this, really. Now, if any of you were unfortunate enough to watch the Chelsea and Arsenal game last night, you'll know exactly why I'm saying that. Unfortunate. Boy, oh boy. That was a naff game of football. Before the game of football, Garnacho's sitting there. Well, don't even sit there. His Chelsea programme notes. Quote, unquote. Everyone knows how hard it is to play there at the Emirates. When we lost the first game, I saw a lot of people saying, yeah, but no one won yet at the Emirates. But now I think the view is a little bit different. If, for example, United can beat them there, we can do it perfectly. I might whip out a slot song for Garnacho there. Like, typically when players leave United, I don't really have any sort of... I largely don't really have any sort of feelings about it all. I'm sort of like, hey, it's like he's left, it's gone, doesn't really matter. But like, Sancho and Garnacho are 2 players that I wish no good on them in their footballing career, like at all. Like, they're clearly both just little dicks. Then that's the only way I can describe it. I've seen absolutely nothing since Garnacho left that suggests that United even made a hint of a mistake, even accepting 40 mil. I don't look at that now and think, at the time, I kind of wish United got a little bit more from him. But, man, just the absolute horror of an attitude and an approach to him. You know, I think that's a kind of a reflection of. I think that's a reflection of Ronaldo was his idol, and Ronaldo was at the club when he sort of broke through, and he's taken the Ronaldo mentality and approach to football without having the accolades to back it up. I don't even know if I call it immaturity. It's just, he's a very odd lad. Very, very odd lad. Anyway, yeah, well done, mate. You really nailed that. Chelsea can do it perfectly. What an absolute grim game of football. Really grim game of football. Someone down there saying they're both weak professionals too. That's why their careers won't go anywhere. It's just choices, decisions, and just kind of who they are as individuals. Just not very nice lads. That's the way I would describe them. I imagine not very nice teammates either. So I don't think many United fans it will be sad. Maybe Sancho and Rashford, but yeah, anyway. Shame. No one likes to see it, apart from me. So I want to speak about, this is going to be a very brief conversation about transfers, because I don't really think there's too much that we need to speak about that we didn't speak about yesterday. Right, David Ornstein just, United were working towards a long-term strategy and nothing lined up in January. Now, I was listening to the latest episode of Talk of the Devils. I always like listening to what Carl and Ian and Andy have got to say. And Laurie and Mark. Don't miss anybody out. Now we're speaking about the window, speaking about the approach. Now, of course, it comes with its risks, just as spending money on players would have come with different risks. Now, United have taken the gamble on the fact that they feel, given that we've only got 14 games left this season, that this squad will be able to cope with it. Now, the thing that will change that is injuries. And let's be completely honest, injuries have been significantly better this season compared to years gone by. And that's one thing I can definitely compliment Amorim about. I think that approach and focus on fitness, like Ten Hag came in and approached it and wanted to improve the fitness, but when you look back on it now, it kind of felt like that arsehole PE teacher who came in and just ended up just doing double laps for no particular reason. I don't think it really worked. It actually went the other way because we got more muscular injuries under Ten Hag because of the style of football that we had. But in terms of transfers, I thought this was an interesting little nugget from the latest transfer deal sheet on the Athletics, the 5th one that they released. And it's just a little bit of confirmation there on just how much United have pulled down on the revolving facility, aka the credit card. You can see United have spent 295 million of a possible 350 mil. Now, last summer took us all by surprise. We didn't realise that United had increased the amount we could spend on the credit revolving facility, or whatever it is, the bloody credit card. Really annoying to call it credit revolving facility. Imagine you go into the bank. Hi, mate. Yeah, can I open a credit revolving facility, please? You want a credit card? No, I'd like a credit revolving facility, please. But United funded a lot of that big spending last summer on this, which by the looks of it isn't going to be as readily available as it was last summer. I just thought that was an interesting little thing to consider. Mate, the Champions League, I don't know whether I'm right in saying this, but it kind of feels like Manchester United, the success of a potential summer for Manchester United really does hinge on getting into the Champions League. Getting to the Europa League, that's just... Selling players is clearly going to be a big thing. Getting wages off the books like Casemiro, but then actually trying to replace Casemiro. By the way, you may well hear, well, you might not hear it, but the final bit of work is going on behind there, and obviously it's going on between 10 and 11. These are the rules. I don't think I'll get as distracted this time, but I might be. Let me see what you're saying down here. Good morning to who's that? Den, gifting 5 memberships. Iconic, this community, it really is. Jason saying, are we running the out of money gimmick again just to bank 300 mil, or are we actually cooked this time? If we rewind to last summer, we thought that we were in some sort of PSR danger zone. Turns out that we never really were. And they were just using the wrong accounts, which is kind of funny when you look back on it now. But cash really is only, I think it's lower than it was last summer. And our credit card space is a lot less than it was. So I think there's even more onus on actually getting cash in. And when you think about this, like, we're going to be getting money in for Højlund. Well, as long as Napoli qualify for the Champions League. That's an obligation. We're going to be getting money in for Rashford, ideally. Although there's no guarantee on that. We're going to do a little short video that's going to be going out on Friday just explaining the Rashford situation. I think he's hit double figures for goals and assists contributions across all competitions now for Barcelona, so he's certainly doing the job, but have they got the cash? Don't know. You'd hope that we got money for, like, if we have a little conversation about players who are going. Look, it's not the time to do a keep or sell. We're going to wait until much further in the season to do that. But you'd hope that United would be able to get money for Ugarte. You'd hope that United would be able to get money for Xerxes. Onana's a good point. But we hoped that last summer. What we did last summer was I think what we did last summer with a lot of the player exits, allowing players to go out on loan, delaying getting the money. I'm not sure we're going to have as much freedom to do that this summer. It feels like we're going to have to make sales. Money coming in, rather than loans with obligations. I don't know whether we can do that 2 seasons in a row. I don't think Onana's coming anywhere near the club ever again, if I'll be completely honest. Let me see what you're saying down here, then we'll move on and have a conversation about Casemiro. I think this will be an interesting one. Someone down there saying, what's that credit revolving facility? Dude, it's a credit card. Man United got a credit card that's got a 350 mil limit on it. We spent 295 mil of it. Damn, credit card with 55 mil on that. Boy, you'd have a good time. And then regret everything. Yeah, we have been notably bad at selling. Last summer, I think, was pretty good by our own standards. Not the greatest, but certainly better. This summer, I think we're going to have to really step it up and get some money in for players where last summer we may have just been willing to let them go on loan with an obligation. I think Xerxes will be a very good example, because the Xerxes situation could end up, in theory, being exactly like the Højlund one was last summer. There'll probably be Roma, probably be the standard Serie A club negotiations. Hi, we'd like your player. No, we're not going to offer you any money. Yes, we'd like to take him on loan. We'll pay part of his wages and then we'll get an obligation if we get back into the Champions League. That just seems to be every single bloody call you get from a Serie A club. If Rashford wants to come back, having him on Cunha on one side and amazing Amazon, I'm guessing you mean Ahmed, and Mbumo on the other side as options might work. With respect to Marcus Rashford, I don't want him back at the football club. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just think that ship has sailed. I think there's too much existing narrative. There's too much existing feeling and emotion towards Rashford. While on paper, a flourishing Rashford could work at United, as soon as it didn't work, it would turn back into the same thing that I don't think we really need or want to see. So that's why I wouldn't want him back at the club. And I think he'd probably enjoy the clean break as well, just as he's enjoying the clean break at Barca. Would he be putting those numbers up at United? No, because he'd still be at United. Anti saying, your concerns, we could sell, release 5 players, but then we need 8 or 9 in. Well, it's going to be... How many we need in depends on whether we get Champions League, right? We know that. And part of it's probably going to be bolstered by the academy, which is kind of what you should do. The blend, right? It's the blend. Anyway, let's speak about one player who is definitely leaving. And Casemiro is up for Player of the Week. If I remember correctly, have we won this in the last 2 weeks in a row? Did Dorgu win it twice? I can't remember. Who won it? Was it Mbumo after the City game and then Dorgu after the Arsenal game? Or have I made that up completely? I might be thinking goal of the week. I know Dorgu got goal of the week. Can't remember if he got player of the match week. But anyway, Casemiro's up for it for his performance against Fulham. And rightly so. And we already know he's leaving. I'm probably going to do a video on him quite soon. Today, my video, I'll speak about it a little bit later. I'm going to do a video on Bruno. I'm really going to be rolling. Yeah, I think it was Mbumo and Dorgu. Was it Bruno? I can't remember. Right, Darren saying it's not a credit card. It's short-term borrowing to smooth cash flow. AKA a credit card. AKA money that you don't own, money that you are borrowing, and money that you will pay back. Now, if you want to tell me that's not a credit card, that's fine. It's not a credit card per se, but it's the exact same premise. All right? Maybe the functionality and the definitions are ever so slightly different, but let's not be facetious. It's money that United don't own. They've gone to the bank. Can I borrow said money? Yes, of course you can. Here's an interest rate. Pay back by this date. AKA, that's what a credit card is. I think quite a few of you are saying Bruno, so I can't remember exactly who it was. Anyway, Casemiro. I wanted to ask you this, right? I put down 6 points here, but we could probably go more than 6, right? When Casemiro leaves, what do you think actually needs to be replaced? Because if you're looking at something that, like, for example, something that we all want is like an all-purpose, very athletic midfielder that can cover ground in and out of possession. That's probably something that Casemiro doesn't have in this game. I think he's looking far better right now because the system that Carrick has brought in is not exposing our midfielders so much. But I think there's going to be certain things that you're going to really struggle to replace when Casemiro leaves, such as goal threat from set pieces, right? That one there. That's definitely one. And you're saying to replace Casemiro is going to be a nightmare. You're saying experience, leadership, humility, genuine world-class ability on his best days. You know, one thing I'm actually really pissed off at now. Now that we're getting to see this version of Casemiro in his 4th season, I'm really pissed off that we wasted seasons 2 and 3. Do I think that he could have come back into the 2nd season fitter? Maybe. But he was excellent in the 1st season. There was certainly drop-off after the Newcastle game, but I think there was a drop-off from everybody after the Newcastle win in the League Cup final. I'm just annoyed that we wasted years 2 and 3 of Casemiro. Now that we're seeing this in year 4 of Casemiro. Right, let me see what you're saying down here. Would I call Casemiro a tempo setter? I'm not sure if I would, per se. I mean, that goes without saying. You're just all the midfielders we're linked with. You're looking at, well, the top 3, of course. You're looking at Anderson, Belieber, and Wharton. None of those fall into that sort of experience category. And I don't think any of the midfielders we're really going to look at are going to fall into that experience category. There was one thing that Carl Anker said on the latest Talk of the Devils, and I really liked his description of it. Sneakiness. And I suppose that kind of comes into experience. But sneakiness is like knowing when to just pull back on somebody, knowing when to put a little slide tackle in when the ref's looking the other way. You can call it the dark arts if you want. I don't think he's really as much of a dark arts player, but knowing when to be football IQ. I think that's probably a better way to describe it. Equally as accurate. Defensive positioning. No, I think maybe I'll reword this. That's probably a better way to describe it, because I think we all know what we need to replace, but what do we think we're going to struggle to replace? Yeah, Rory, maybe that does come down into experience. Ref looking the other way, there's VAR. Well, you don't really ever see anything coming for those sort of situations, do you? I don't think VAR gets involved in the yellow card situation, does it? What else is saying down here? No look passing. You know, one thing I do want to say, right? I know that there's a lot of frustration that United didn't make any signings in January. I want to know if you agree with me on this one, because Andy mentioned it in the Talk of the Devils, and I think he's spot on. Manchester United's midfield is stronger at the end of the January window than it was at the start of it. Because if you rewind to the start of the January window, Kobe wasn't in the team, and Casemiro was, well, certain games were passing him by. But fast forward like 3-4 weeks, obviously Amorim's gone, then Fletcher came in, then Carrick's come in. And you look at what Cobby's done since, and he's now flourished in his first 3 appearances of the season in the league. And Casemiro has refound his best form. So I think we're definitely in a stronger position at the end of this January window than we were at the start of it. And none of us really saw that coming. What's your take on... I think, if I was to predict, I think United will be able to manage the fitness of Mainu and Casemiro. I don't particularly feel that... Hey, look, don't have a go at me for jinxing or anything like that, but it might happen. You might get a hamstring. You might get soft tissue injuries. But when it comes to freak injuries like Martinez and, what's happened with him twice, or somebody, I don't know, jumping for the ball and then landing awkwardly on their ankle. Those sort of freak injuries you can't really account for. Someone down there saying, look, OTF, our midfield is 1 injury away from struggling again. Yeah, it is. But even if you have Ruben Neves there and Casemiro got injured, you'd still have concerns. I don't think there's anything that they could have truly done that would have alleviated fears. And I don't think it was possible for a United team that only has 14 games left this season and don't have any European football to go out and build the sort of squad depth that you need when you've got European football. When you've got European football, when you've got cup games, you want 2 top players in every position. That's the definition, I'd say, of a stable and good squad. We don't have that now. Mate, Andy Carroll, I'll never forgive Andy Carroll for that. Bloody sitting on Christian Eriksen's whole leg. Eriksen was never the same after that. Arsehole. Rory's saying part of me doesn't want Unk to leave. When you're watching Casemiro in this sort of form, you're sitting there going, I don't know, you fancy taking like a 75% wage cut? Sticking around for another year? Man, I don't think he's going to do that. Of course he wouldn't. I imagine he either retires. I think he retires if Brazil win the World Cup. And if they don't, then I think he'll probably go and enjoy himself in I don't know, maybe go join into Miami. I mean, they've still got that whole... Do they still have Busquets, Jordi Alba, Messi? Everyone's still there, aren't they? I think they are. Let me see what he's saying down here. Offered to Tonali 300k. We can tilt his head. That was a bit random that he got offered to Arsenal, wasn't it? I don't know what his agent was doing there. I think we should have tried to get Gomez from Wolves. I understand why United stood firm on their strategy for January, but it's not a strategy that everyone's going to agree with. Have they taken a gamble and a little bit of a risk? They have. Just in the same way that if United had come and spent 100 million on 2 players, I could guarantee there's an argument to speak about the gamble and the risk that they have taken on those 2 players, which wouldn't have been their top choices, but they brought them in for a short term. Is that going to be good in 6 months' time? There is no pleasing anybody at any point ever. There's always an argument the other side. Welcome to football, people. What are you saying down here? Casemiro want to leave on a high because after the World Cup, I bet Casemiro's form will drop off. Might do. I think we'll go for Alex Scott from Bournemouth. Oh, he's another player that's been linked with us. Who was the other one? I can't remember. But United certainly will be looking at Premier League midfielders. Now let's move on from speaking about transfers. We'll speak a little bit about Carrick and a little bit on this Amorim story that's come out. I did my video yesterday. I enjoyed doing that video. It wasn't a video that I did just for the sake, here comes of overly positive for no particular reason. I think there's genuine reason to be optimistic about what I'm watching right now on and off the pitch from United across these first 3 games. The big question is, can United and can Carrick continue that for the next 14 games? It's going to be a 1 game at a time thing. Spurs are coming to Old Trafford. We'll speak about the Spurs game a little bit later because the start 11 is going to go out tomorrow because, of course, it kicks off at 12:30 on Saturday. So it's going to be going out a little bit earlier. But, I mean, we all know this is the case. I've seen Robbie Savage say it now as well. So who was it? I think it was Roy Keane who said even if Carrick wins every game as United boss, that he's not going to get the job. I think Robbie Savage has said, the only way that he's got a chance of getting the job is if he wins every single game. Rob Dawson here from ESPN saying that it's going to take something exceptional for him. What is exceptional? A genuine question I want to ask you. Because I'm sure there would have been a lot of you that shared my opinion when Carrick came in. That it kind of doesn't really matter what we see between now and the end of the season. It feels like the right decision would be to go for someone like Luis Enrique. Maybe someone like Thomas Tuchel. There's only a couple of managers there, I think, that you'd have this conversation about. Like the elite top tier. Like that's what United need. What defines exceptional for Carrick compared to when he came in? The target was winning the Champions League. Bloody hell, not winning the Champions League. That would be exceptional, considering we're not in it, Sam. Getting back into the Champions League, so finishing in the top 5 was the ambition. So if he gets 4th or 5th, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but I'm not sure that would be exceptional. I think that would be an incredible achievement, but I'm not sure exceptional. Let me see what you're saying down here. If we go 16 unbeaten, put them in the Hall of Fame, we will lose game for the end of the season. Might be Spurs. It could be Spurs. Could be bloody West Ham. Could be Everton. No one knows. Exceptional would be winning all remaining games 3-0. Well, that would be ridiculous. That's not going to happen. Top 2. Quite a few of you are saying second place would be exceptional. That's my point. What is determined as exceptional? I don't know. I think part of it is, something I would consider exceptional is if by the end of the season, even if there's games that we've lost, if there isn't like one game that stands out, because we've seen this so many bloody times as United fans, just like a game can come along, even when you're in form as well, and you're going, hey, what is that? What's that performance? Like, where's that come from? Like a game that comes like a bolt from the blue, that doesn't really follow any patterns that you've had before, and it's kind of an anomaly. If you can go out throughout the entire season without having that, like one game, I suppose, drop off, I think that might be considered exceptional. Because I'm so used to seeing that. But we'll find out. Of course we'll find out. First or second, someone's saying down there. I know it's not going to happen. But it would be delightful if Arsenal fell off and United won the league. That might be one of the greatest. Oh man. Nope, not gonna let myself think about it. We also struggle at home versus a lot of teams that sit back. How many games like that have we got left this season at Old Trafford? I actually don't know. Let's have a quick look. How many teams are going to come to Old Trafford and sit back? Let's have a look. Crystal Palace, well, they won't. They never do under Glasner. It's kind of part of the reason why he's ended up getting sad. Like Villa, they definitely won't sit back. Bournemouth, they won't. Leeds, I imagine they might sit back. Well, I don't think that's guaranteed. Brentford, the way that they're playing, I wouldn't expect them to sit back. United play against Liverpool. We know what's going to happen there. Forest, well, they might be relegated by that point, so you don't really know. I wouldn't really say that there's many games at Old Trafford. I'm just looking at the games at Old Trafford where teams will probably come and sit back on us. Away from home, who we got? West Ham, I imagine they probably will. Everton, nah, they won't. Not in a Monday night game against United in the new stadium. Newcastle definitely won't. Bournemouth, they're open. Massively open. Chelsea, they'll be open. Sunderland, if they still got their unbeaten run by that point in the season, bloody hell. Brighton, they're having a right crap season. I don't think there's that many teams there that I look at and go, oh, they're definitely going to sit back. They're definitely going to have a low block. Don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to have I suppose it's a very subjective conversation. What would be exceptional for Carrick? I think getting to the top 2 would be exceptional. versus where we were when he came into the season. Whether that would mean he get the job, I don't know. But look, this was just a little clip from Delo speaking on the Inside United podcast, just on how impressed he's been working with Carrick and Holland. We've heard that from a few players now. And I think if I was to go back and I was to run through the first few months of, or even first few weeks of Amorim, I probably could pull out similar quotes. I think players enjoy working with new managers, not all the time, but largely, straight away. Let's just hope that it continues with Carrick. And I don't think this is worthy of a full headline conversation at this point, hence why we're only talking about it half an hour into today's show. We got Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail and Nathan Salt saying that, look, a well-placed source in Portugal has said Ruben Amorim is set to wait until the end of the season before breaking his silence on how it soured at United. Now, if we remember how Ralf Rangnick, Ten Hag, typically with United, they have managers sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. That means legally, you cannot speak about X topic, aka you getting sacked, aka what happened behind the scenes, for a fixed period of time. Would that be until the end of the season? Would that be until the summer? Would that be a year later? Typically, United do it so that when the manager speaks about it properly and I suppose honesty comes out and truth comes out, yeah, United fans kind of moved on. And things kind of moved on. Like, John, you're down there saying Wilcox is going to come out of this badly. I'd like to know why. I'll definitely care what Ruben Amorim's got to say. I'll definitely be interested in what he's got to say. Man, do you remember that morning? Bloody hell, it was like Monday morning, wasn't it? I was sitting in 9:59, ready to go, and then David Ornstein took bang. Ruben Amorim's got sacked. I don't think any of us expected it at that point. But it was simply a direct response to falling out with the ownership, falling out with Jason Wilcox. It wasn't even because he called out the ownership in that Leeds post-match press conference, because we found out that the argument had already happened before. What's going on down here? Now I was going to read some of your comments out. Daz, I want Wilcox sacked over the Amorim situation. I definitely want him gone over the Malacia situation. The minute I've spoken about that yesterday, I found it a bit odd. Like, why on earth would he be like on a plane ready to go to Benfica? Not Benfica, Besiktas. And then it gets no, hold up, you can't leave because the Dorgu injury didn't happen on deadline day. Alex saying would be intrigued to hear what he says, but it's water under the bridge. Yeah, I don't know whether it would just be water under the bridge. I think because there's a lot of, would I say distrust? I probably would say distrust of Wilcox from a lot of United fans. While I do think the recruitment he's getting that sort of correct, I think there's a lot of questionable things that have been done by Ineos, man. Who's mentioning Voldemort's name down there? Anyway, I'll be interested enough to find out what he says, and we'll see whether it comes in the summer or whether it's going to be later. It might be later because of an NDA, if I'm being completely honest. Brendan saying, got to give Amorim props for getting rid of the shitty attitude and lack of effort players like Garnacho, Sancho and Rashford. Yeah, Amorim did some good work, even if he was way too stubborn with the football. And it was the moment that sort of made me just go, was reverting to the back three after we beat Newcastle, after we stepped in the right direction. And he did the hard part in that sense, and it worked. Second half against Newcastle was a struggle because we switched to a back three again and we invited it all on us. And then we went back to the back three against Wolves and we couldn't break down the worst team in the league that we had just pumped 4-1 away from home. That was a bit that sort of broke it for me. Now, want to explain what today's video is. I'm going to roll my sleeves up. And I'm going to really enjoy doing this video for Bruno. Really going to enjoy it because it feels like something has changed now with this whole Bruno discourse. Everybody here will know how much I've defended Bruno, even against United fans, let alone rival fans or pundits or the papers or the media. It feels like something has changed. It feels like the wider footballing population, whatever you want to call it, have now realised that they are running out of an ability to keep questioning Bruno. And I'm really enjoying it. So this lunchtime video, I think you're going to enjoy it. You'll enjoy the intro for sure. Going to be bringing back a little bit more quality to the intros for our lunchtime videos. They're going to be just trying to take a step up. You might see different sorts of titles, different sorts of thumbnails. It's just us taking our next step forward as a channel and something that we want to do in the direction that we feel we want to take the channel in. So I think you're going to enjoy that Bruno video. So that'll be coming out somewhere between 12 and 1. All right? So hopefully you enjoy that. United winning production goes up. Dude, Mikey, like with respect, I've been here every single day without fail for a long, long time. We've limited the amount of productions videos that we've been doing simply because of how much time and money goes into those videos. And United fans are just switched off. Understandably so, because we were doing crap. I'd love to be able to bring more of them back. Something that we are... fair enough, it wasn't dig. I'm just trying to explain. Something we've got coming up soon. I told you that we had planned to do like a full new manager series. Taking a look at all the different candidates and doing like fact files and saying like, okay, this is who his personality is, blah, blah, blah. I think for me to be doing that and for us to be producing those right now, whilst Carrick has done what he's done, I think would be disrespectful to Carrick. So we're not going to undermine the work that he is doing. It might be that just a little bit later towards the end of the season, we can produce a couple of those videos. But we've pulled back on that. So something we're bringing this month, in February, you're going to get the second installments of the scouting videos on Anderson, Wharton and Belieber, which I think you'll all enjoy. You'll all enjoy the first round, what's happened in the 2 to 3 months since we produced those first ones. Well, you'll find out because we'll cover absolutely everything. Past that, we'll probably take a look at some other transfers. I think that might be a good way for us to bring our production's energy. And hopefully we'll have space to do some more of the little mini docs. I love those. Did I ever do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium video? No, the last video we did was just a complete roundup and update on what's going on with the current stadium and the plans. I wouldn't say enough has happened since. Like, you've got some... I don't bloody know what it's called. Some sort of committee has been approved, and that's a good step in the right direction. Haven't actually heard confirmation on what's going on with the freight line terminal. That's going to be a big moving point, because as soon as we get clarification on that and whether or not United can agree a deal and get that terminal moved, might change the whole timeline. In terms of what's happening to the stadium, Rory, as far as we know, United is still looking for investment. They're still trying to find people to put money into the project. The government has certainly put some money into the project, and that's not for the stadium itself. It's for the surrounding areas. But I don't think there's enough on the new stadium since our last video to produce a new one. Yeah, I know there'll be a compulsory purchase order at some point, and we spoke about that a good long time ago. Andy Burnham is not going to be running for MP, and he's going to be staying in Manchester. Right, let's run through. I want to speak a little bit about a couple of youth players, and then we'll wrap up for today. Again, this has come from Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt. I'm really looking forward. We will definitely do a scouting video and report on how Sekou Kone gets on at Lausanne, because I think a lot of you will be interested in following his progress, because he's that type of midfielder, goes into the same category as Christian Orozco. I mean, we could possibly do an update video on Christian Orozco. How's he playing back in Colombia since United? I don't know whether he was playing proper first-team football, too much first-team football. But we could have a look at that. Obviously, he played in was it Under-17s World Cup? I think it was. But hearing that coaches are blown away by Sekou Kone's technical level and ball-winning ability. It's going to be interesting to watch how he plays in the Swiss League. And I hope that he can continue to develop. In terms of the injury to Harry and Mass, I'm hearing that it's serious, but there's no confirmation on it just yet. I really hope for his sake it's not. It's bad. Yep, Scanlon did come on for his debut for Swindon, and Jacob Devaney, I think, went straight into the starting 11 for St Mirren against Hearts, who, of course, are top of the SPL right now. So that's impressive. And he was on corners bloody straight away. Saw a little photo of that. Imagine that. You just joined on loan. 24 hours later, you're in the starting 11 against the league leaders, and you're being put on set pieces. I was like, I mean, fair enough. That's some real confidence and trust being put in him straight away. Speaking of trust and confidence, another first team session for JJ Gabriel, who's had a hell of a season as far as personal development goes. Really sucks for him that we have no cup games because JJ is not eligible to feature in a matchday squad in the Premier League. So you won't be seeing him in and around the first team, but he's training with them, right? Did St Mirren beat Hearts? Fair play. Fair play. What else is saying down there? Brendan, how you doing, buddy? Saying it's 5:40 a.m. in New York. Someone saw my United hat and just came up to me and said, Manchester is red, we're back. I responded saying it's Carrick. Yeah, no. We like that. Nice little story. I'd love to have a little photo selection. You know what I'd love to do at some point is figure out how to get stickers out to members, United People's TV members all around the world, just at cost price, and then start a little gallery of United People's TV members all over the world, putting the stickers up somewhere. So whether it's you, Brendan, in NYC, putting it somewhere and then taking a photo, I thought that would be a really cool thing to do, to mobilize the community and just see how many places we could get these United stickers all around the world. Might look into that. Maddie and Alex, then that'd be a cool thing to do. Just get them at cost price. There's no point. There's no need to make any money off stickers. I just don't know how much it would cost. I don't know what the cheapest you could do that is, including delivery. Definitely something to look into. Anyway, JJ Gabriel, training with the first team. Again, he's trained with the first team quite a few times now. Lovely to see. This is just a random bit of... someone, Moses, saying, why is JJ not eligible? I don't think he was... With the Premier League, I think you've got an A and a B tier list. Is that what it is? The same as Champions League? I think so. And I don't think he was put on the B tier. Because if you're over... I think if you're under 21, you can be added to it. But anyway. Schwab, you are fun at parties. This is a random bit of guesswork, I think. Just read the wording of this. There is a chance that United could integrate Radek Vitek and Harry Mass into the first team fold to bolster their options, although that decision will be made by their next permanent head coach. So to rephrase that from Rich Fay, there is a chance that these two players who are out on loan could be in United's first team next season, but I don't actually know because I don't know who's going to be their head coach next season. I mean, come on. Of course there's a chance. Right now, I think it would kind of be foolish from United, as it stands anyway, for United not to have Seny Lamons as number one and Radek Vitek as number two. Zero cost. Vitek's had a hell of a season of development at Bristol City. Seny's looking very good as our number one. Bayindir and Onana should both be leaving. And I don't see a requirement for United to spend on a number two when Radek Vitek, why couldn't he be number two? In the same way that I suppose Seny came in and wasn't guaranteed to be our number one, but performed well enough that he became our number one. I think that would be healthy competition. I think Radek Vitek would love that. He would definitely love to be number two for United next season because you don't know what's going to happen in football. Injuries can happen. Dean Henderson and David De Gea, I'll always remember it. De Gea was out of form. Henderson was banging in form. It was number one towards the end of the season. Then he got COVID and De Gea refound his form. And Henderson had to leave the club. In a summer where we're going to be busy, I don't particularly think that United need to do much with our goalkeeping department. Senny number 1, Radek Vitek number 2. Probably keep Tom Heaton in as a number 3, who seems to be a good coach, seems to be a good voice and a good bit of experience in, and a bit like, I don't know, he's kind of United's Scott Carson. I swear that bloke had the best job in the world for like 3-4 years. Never played a minute. Collected his packet. Just sat there. Just watched it as the third choice for City and never had to do anything. Anyway, quite a few of you are saying that the reason that he's not eligible is because he wasn't 16 was 15 or 16. He needed to be 16 in August, but he was 15 in October. So he's just too young. I didn't realise there was a minimum age. Speaking of goalkeepers, though, look at this. That'll put a smile on your face. Before Senny came in, we had 9 losses. Well, that won't put a smile on your face. 9 losses in 18 Premier League games. But with him in the team, we've only lost twice in 18 Premier League games. I've already did a video on Senny last week. Feels good, man. Feels good to have a keeper that you don't really need to speak about. Right. I'm going to wrap up the show with a photo of Fred's new haircut. I don't know why. It just made me laugh. That is a proper Predator haircut, that is. Has anyone seen the new Predator, Badlands? Disappointed. Predator's supposed to be this absolute, like, just killing machine. And he's got little friends and he's bopping along with little mates now. Yeah, Abacab with the really important stat there. Radek Vitek, 0 goals and 0 assists. Average player. Send him out on loan. He's not good enough for United. But yeah, I thought I'd show you that haircut from Fred. It's an absolute... To be fair, it's quite funny. Right. Last minute of the show. Any questions you want to ask me, fire them in. Plan for content for today. As I said, it's going to be a Bruno video. I'm really looking forward to doing that Bruno video. It's definitely the right time for it. And yeah, I'm just glad that other fans they've run out of energy to try and criticize Bruno. And I tell you what, 2 things I'll preview for that video. I think if Bruno had a set of pearly whites and a Beckham level smile, and he didn't like throw his arms up in the air, just those 2 things, which have nothing really to do with his footballing talent, Bruno would be viewed extremely differently. Extremely differently. Predator. Someone's got to do that. Someone's got to do that. Fun fact, Badlands is the first Predator film with no humans. I only remember the first 2. I haven't really followed the whole franchise since then. But the whole Predator franchise and Terminator could have and should have been significantly better. Terminator 2 is still the best film of all time. All right? Everyone knows that. That's not really up for debate. Anyway, right. Let's wrap it up. Predator. Sorry, Fred. I didn't mean to do that. Right. Thank you all for tuning in today. Thank you all for getting involved. Much love. Always enjoy the shows. I will see you tomorrow morning. Take it easy.